Ladies and gents, welcome back to AusGamers. You are here once again with Stephen Farrelly, coming to you from the GamesCom show floor out at EA's booth. I've got two very special guests with me today, Cevat and Rasmus. You guys know them from the Crytek team. You know that they're working on this fantastic game, this fantastic series, Crysis 3. I want to start with what you guys learnt, I think, coming off Crysis 2. I mean, it was sort of, you took the series to console, you're pushing CryEngine 3. What's kind of been the process for you guys moving forward with Crysis 3?
Yeah. So one of the first learnings was that the sandbox formula that we have depicted in Crysis 2 wasn't really as free as it could be and should be. So gamers wanted more freedom and more open spaces. That's one thing. Second was that the story was a bit too complicated in a sense, so that it was too implicative. It was too much like you have to assume things and guess things. And so it should have been more direct in the face a little bit. And also, I think the characters were a little bit flat and they could be more richer. So we took a lot of this feedback to heart and also had an own idea of what to do with Crysis 3 and try to melt the gamer feedback as well as our vision and make Crysis 3 with that.
And in terms of the tech side of things, what's changed with the engine for you guys? More optimized? You're getting more power out of it, obviously, because it looks fantastic.
Yeah, so CryEngine 3 has been really pushed forward now as being a next-gen technology. So we launched CryEngine 3 like 2 years ago as a next-gen technology for upcoming generations of gaming. And we want to depict with Crysis 3 the first next-gen game of current and PC next-generation gaming. So with current-gen consoles and next-gen PC specifications, you're going to get a glimpse of what the future will entail already now with CryEngine 3 featuring Crysis 3.
Is there any reason you guys are sticking with New York for the foundation for the game?
So it's kind of interesting because on one hand you could say that makes things more difficult for us because people will immediately go like, oh, that's because it's a lot easier. But obviously it's the exact opposite of easier because first of all, obviously we don't want to cut corners, right? That's one. And second, the thing we're doing now, we're creating this urban rainforest, which is this artificially grown rainforest on top of New York. It actually creates a lot of drama to take a very, very known environment and then completely screw it up, literally, right? Like you feel like you're in a rainforest, but you always get these reminders at certain points, well, holy, this is, and then you realize that you're actually in New York, which is emotionally powerful, even if you don't live there. And if you are an American especially, I mean, Americans take New York, and especially people living in New York, take it very close to their hearts. It's going to be a very, very rich experience. And also, it creates some consistency in the storytelling. You experienced New York, you saw the transformation that it had, and that's already a crazy transformation, and now we just take that and amp it up incredibly in a completely different way than the kind of alien takeover that it had in Crysis 2, right? So
you're finishing the story as well.
Yeah, it wraps up the trilogy also, right? So it's it actually is very empowering from a storytelling point of view, and it's emotionally very rich to do it like that. On top of that, we have this 7 Wonders concept, which is 7 very diverse mood and layout takes on New York City, which also creates a richness and a diversity that we haven't had in any previous Crysis games, which is really cool as well. Not only from a mood and visual and art direction point of view, but also from a gameplay point of view, because we can create everything from very condensed thing, if we want that, to very, very, very open things, if that's what the experience asks for at that point. So.
In the second game, it seemed like you had this kind of really bright intro to the game, and then all of a sudden, halfway through, it gets really dark. And that's kind of, when you're going from dealing with Cell to actually dealing with the alien threat. What's the pacing been like for Crysis 3? Are we going to have that immediate switch, or is it kind of converged a little bit more now?
I think Crysis 3 is more consistent in that regards, but there is a big revelation at the beginning, and you're put in this scenario of what's going on here. So there's more question marks being posed on you implicitly through the world and how the world is depicted. And you find the answers as you go through the journey, and you are more explorative to the world. So the world is actually much more part of the storytelling than it was in Crysis 2. So I would say that you have this kind of revelation at the beginning, this change, and the game is taking a pacing forward for sure. So it doesn't actually stop there. But it's not as black and white, so it's more on a ramp as opposed to on a sharp contrast.
I would also say that we probably obviously we haven't talked about what that is yet, but we have a very, very strong hook in the game, and probably it's also a little more instantly in the campaign and the whole setup than Crysis 2 is, which ramps up much more gradually until the alien invasion, where there is this big spike in story and, should we say, like action intensity all of a sudden, which paces out the storytelling and the whole thing a little differently. I'm not saying that one necessarily is better than the other. It's just very different from Crysis 2 in that regard. So.
You guys also had pretty unique level design in the second game, with a lot more verticality than most other shooters. A lot of shooters, even ones that profess to be open world, tend to kind of, just have this flat surface for players to play through, and just a lot of corridors and that. You actually have a really rich kind of vertical world. Has that been ramped up again, or are you just kind of going through that level design process that was similar to Crysis 2?
Yeah, so in Crysis 3 we're going to have much more Crysis 1-like open world approach, which gives you a more non-linear experience but wider range, so the world feels more open. But also there will be verticality to this aspect as well. So verticality wasn't absent in Crysis 1. Verticality was our key element of Crysis 2. And with Crysis 3, you're going to get some of the best world, of both of the worlds. And I think the sandbox that we will see in Crysis 3 is going to take it vertical, wider, and hence be a whole new kind of sandbox.
Also, and as mentioned before, like the fact that you have this overgrown city now adds some building blocks that didn't exist before. Before you had to rely on collapsed buildings and stuff. Now you could, in theory, connect a skyscraper with a huge tree and vines going over, something you couldn't do before. So it actually supports verticality on a whole new different level in Crysis 3, because we don't have to stick to kind of the, should we say, like the natural confines of a city and how a city would collapse in a war scenario, right? So.
On the PC, because that's where your guys' heritage actually comes from, and you've got this great tool in CryEngine 3. What are you guys doing to support the PC community with Crysis 3? Is there anything specific, or are you going for platform parity, which is a bit of an ugly term these days?
No, I mean, you know that joke, right? That can run Crysis question, right? And so we will definitely make sure that Crysis 3 will resurrect that question again. Can't run Crysis 3. Yeah. And we will melt the PCs down as we... So, I mean, honestly, we will push the PC to a limit, to its boundaries. And as I said, the idea is that PC will be next-gen gaming, consoles will be current-gen, maximizing it. So we can't deliver next-gen per se in current-gen. I mean, we already did that with Crysis 2, so it's going to be maximizing the current generation on consoles and giving you a glimpse of next-gen, of what it means in a visual and in a simulation and a richness of a world on a PC. And if you have also on a PC, if you have PC upgrade during the next 2 years after you played Crysis 3, Crysis 3 will adapt and be looking better and better as we go as well. Okay. So it will be like a future looking forward kind of game, as opposed to be a game like that is shipped now and will outdate itself in 6 months. So it will be not like that. So it will be an ever evolving and upgrading and adapting game.
Now with multiplayer you've got 16 players for PC. Are you guys going to support dedicated servers globally? Because it's a big question for us in Australia. Latency is a huge issue. 16 doesn't seem like a huge amount of players. It's a nice intimate game number, but it would still be nice for us to be able to, have some oceanic servers would be great.
I mean, we haven't really decided about how we're going to present and talk about this yet, but we do have, again, our ambitions for multiplayer are huge. We do have big plans for it. But the details about dedicated server and server programs and whatnot and what it entails, we're not ready to talk about that yet. But rest assured, the team has been, doing a lot of work on making sure the Crysis 3 multiplayer is the biggest multiplayer offering that we have done so far in the Crysis franchise.
Well, I played it in there before. The Hunter mode is fantastic. It's really intense, and I can't wait to sink my teeth into it a little bit more. So thanks for your time today, guys.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of the show.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks.